to another review, and today, as you can see, I'm doing a video on my original vintage 1974 Mego Mr. Spock action figure. And no, it's not mint in the package, it has been removed. And yeah, I'll just go over the package really quickly. You of course have your 5 action figures here, which are available, and it says collect all 5 of these 8-inch fully posable action figures there. It says here manufactured exclusively for Mego Corporation, New York, in the British colony of Hong Kong. And I think this one was released in the UK particularly. I'll say why in a minute. Here you got Mr. Scotty, the Klingon, Captain Kirk, Dr. McCoy, aka Bones, and Mr. Spock, this guy right here. Of course, have your Enterprise going there. And just looking at this, I've never actually noticed this, it's just occurred to me. Why is this thing so long on the deflector dish? Why is it so long? It was never like that in the show. But oh well, nothing major. Yeah, that's quite amusing. Here we have the Mego logo, as you can see there. 1974 Paramount. And here, it's upside down, but you have the price tag, $3.99. So I assume this was in England, because when I look at some of the old commercials, I'm sure it says like $5 for your Megos, and so like £4 or $3.99. I think that would be a pretty accurate currency. I'm not even sure if I worded that correctly, pretty accurate currency, but oh well. The bubble displays the figure very nicely, as you can see. It's not held in by anything, just friction really, and the fact that the package comes up to his nose. On the back, you got literally exactly the same thing. Collect all 5 of these 8-inch fully posable action figures, Mego. So yeah, I'll just open him up. I got this from the same shop that I got my Kirk at. So, yep, here we go. Starting with his face, obviously. It's a very good likeness for the most part, as you can see. They've got the hair down with the nice strands. These sideburns are very accurate. The ears are just well, I wouldn't say a tad bit too long. They are far too long, but I don't mind. It's Mr. Spock, one of my favourite fictional characters of all time. His eyebrows are actually sculpted. They actually come off the figure a bit, and the paint's actually fading away on this eyebrow a little bit, but it's nothing major, and if it gets to be too much in the future, I can always just very carefully draw a Sharpie across it. So yeah, that's very cool. His hair also comes down at an angle at the back there. His ears protrude, you can see him from the side, so he's easily recognisable. Mr. Spock, obviously portrayed by Leonard Nimoy. And just on a side note, if you've heard of, well, if you're watching this video, you've obviously heard of Nichelle Nichols. She recently had a mild stroke at her home in Los Angeles, I believe it is. Anyway, I hear she's recovering now, and she's walking, talking, eating. So yeah, best wishes to Nichelle, and I'm sure everybody watching this review will agree with me there. Moving to Leonard Nimoy. Mr. Spock, sorry. I'm so used to him being Mr. Spock that I call the figure Leonard sometimes. He has the same thing as Kirk really, except it's blue. And he also has that nice suede material for the collar, which looks very cool. His badge I also had to peel off very carefully and glue back on with super glue. He has 2 bands minus 1, which is what Kirk had, as he had 3. Here we have his belt, and the trousers once again are literally exactly the same. But also, like I said in my last review, they're very nice because they look just like what they had in the show. And I find his are actually baggier. As you can see here, sometimes I find myself kind of pulling them back a bit because I don't like the fact that they're touching like that on the shelf. I like them to be kind of wider apart, similar to Kirk's. Trousers also seem a bit shorter. And just to do kind of a size comparison actually, because my father, obviously growing up in the 60s, him and his elder sister watched the show, so they know the basic characters. They're not really as skilled in the land of Trek as I might be, but oh well. Looking at these two, he walked in, saw them, and said, "Hang on, Kirk's taller." And I said, I know, but I didn't buy it for accuracy, boy, because I love Mr. Spock. And I bought it actually a few days after he passed away. I just went in there just to see what they had. I saw that, and I thought, there's no way I can leave this store without picking him up. So obviously I did. Put Kirk to the side, who is in this universe taller, and moving on to his accessories. I'll take his tricorder off very, very carefully, as this was actually broke when I got it and I had to glue it. I'll show you where it's broke from as well. There we go. It broke from here, so I had to glue it. It focuses in. There you go. That's where I had to glue it. And now I'm just extremely careful. His basic strap. It's obviously in blue because at the time they didn't really have like the technology that they got now to they probably use 3D printers to make the majority of accessories, I'd assume, nowadays. But he has all the detail on his tricorder, minus the inaccurate shape. So I'm quite happy with it. It's hollow at the back, but I don't mind. I don't have any complaints. I'm not going to take his belt off for this review, but I will take his phaser off. And I think the phaser isn't an original. I think it's like a new one. As you can see, it is literally perfect in condition. There's not a single thing wrong with it at all. And as you can see, this bit sticks out a bit more, so it's harder to actually get into his belt, but it stays there much easier. Putting it in his hand, he holds it very, very nicely. Well, nicely for these figures, I suppose. Compared nowadays, you get extra hands designed for this stuff. But I didn't buy this for detail, even though it is quite well detailed in my opinion. And accessories. His communicator looks like it might be original, as it's not in the best of shape, and I have to kind of hold it at an obscure angle just so you can get a view of it. Focus. As you can see there, you got those hinges there that make it look like it might be the top part. So yeah, it's very nice. He holds it well as well, and his hands are very tight, I have to be honest, compared to the Kirk. As you can see there, his hands are also starting to kind of split down the fingers. It probably happens over time, same with this hand, but I don't mind. Now then, it'll be easier to talk about his articulation considering his tricorder's off. 360 in the head, his head also squishes a bit. I'm not going to squash it though. He's got a nice, very nice ball joint. I love what Megos have with their ball joints in their torsos. He of course has his muscular physique, which you see in that episode with the Nazis. Very good leg movement, as you can see. Oh wait, his arms can go up that high, can go out roughly that far. His arms don't go as far as Kirk's. Very nice elbow joints, accurate looking. Not accurate, I mean realistic, that's the word I'm looking for. When you compare it to a Type 1 Mego, which weren't that good. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Type 1s, it sounds like I'm hating on them, but Type 2s are better in my opinion. He has a hinge in his wrist, which hinges very nicely actually, as you can see there. You can have him do a palm strike even, because he doesn't actually have an alternate hand. It'd be cool if like a company made a alternate hand that you can pull this off and put a Vulcan salute on. That'd be pretty cool. It swivels obviously. Now then, moving to the legs. Even though I technically already covered them, he has very nice range of movement. Just like Kirk, he can also sit cross-legged. Although his phaser's in the way, so I'm not going to bother forcing it. A very good bend in the knee. Nothing in the feet, but his boots are intact and solid, so they're not going to fall apart like the Type one Megos. Sorting out his jumper. Right, that's essentially everything I have to say about Mr. Spock, really. I bought down my Biff Bang Pow Doctor Who figure, obviously being Tom Baker's. They only got a chance to make, wait, actually they made 3, didn't they? The first, 11th, and Tom Baker. And I just never got around to getting them. It's just a shame they lost their license as well, by the way. I always thought that was kind of iffy, like, considering they would keep character options and what their figures were like towards the end of Biff Bang Pow's run. Oof. Biff Bang Pow was the definitive Doctor Who figure maker at the time, in my opinion. As you can see there, they all are together, and like I said in my last review, this is why Megos were so popular, in my opinion. Straightening the camera. I mean, I think they were popular because everything was in scale, literally. Look at this, they're all in really nice scale. The Doctor could fight a Gorn. What else? Mr. Spock could fight the Green Goblin. Kirk could take on the Hulk and obviously win because he's Kirk. That's never been disputed. Kirk can't lose fights. Well, he has lost a few. That being said, in one episode of the original series, he got stabbed by an Andorian, and whilst the knife was in him, I think, he still won the fight. That was, of course, the episode that introduced Mark Leonard as Mr. Spock's father, Sarek. But anyway, I'm going way off topic here. Putting these to the side. Right, bringing Mr. Spock forward. Fantastic, fantastic figure. If you can find this at the right price, I'd highly recommend you pick him up, because he is just superb. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and take care.